So the Google form, most of us at this point have used those before, but if you have not used the Google form, they're super simple to create. It takes just a little bit of work to code your Google form to be a lockbox for a digital breakout, but it's really quite simple. So what you're going to do is go to the Google form. Make sure you give it a title. You'll put your question here. So, for instance, I might say 3-letter word. Okay? Change it to short answer. Make sure everything is short answer on this. You're going to come down to the 3 dots. You can go to description. I always make sure that I classify here punctuation. So all caps or all lowercase or whatever is going to make the most sense for the age group that you're working with, you could put there. And then you're going to go to response validation. Change it, even if you have a number, change it to text. You want it to say, or you want the selection to be contains, and it's going to have to match exactly what is inside of your text. Your custom error text is where you can go to put the what the students are going to see whenever you have or whenever they type something in incorrectly. So I might put still locked. You could also put a clue there to where the students could check to go or see where the clue will be or whatever. If you're working with younger students, you can possibly number these. So it just helps keep your students organized. And that's actually a good skill for any grade level that you're working with. If you think back to the example that I had all of the resources labeled like Clue 1, and then on the Google form, I would have Clue 1. That way the students would know what clue matched each lock. Additionally, you want to make sure that each of these questions are required, and you probably want to add a question. That way the student's name will pop up, or make sure in the settings that you have collect email addresses turned on. Now, once you have that first clue done, you can click the plus sign, but if you click these 2 rectangles stacked kind of on top of one another, it's going to duplicate that question, and all of those fields are going to automatically be duplicated. So you can just go in and change your clues. I have everything in there, and I can change whatever I want. Another common lock that I like to use is the phrase. So clue number 3, 3-word phrase. You could do that. The only thing is, if for those, it's kind of tricky because of spaces and capitalization. So just make sure that you keep all of that in mind and put your directions in that description. After you have your Google form created, and you can even go ahead and embed that on your site, you're going to be able to edit this at any point in time. So even though mine's not finished right now, I could still go over to my Google site that I worked on before. And I like to use the double click, and it pops up and open that circle. I like the circle because it reminds me of the very old iPod Nanos. Some of you might not even remember what those are, but I loved them and I love that circle. So if you double click, you're going to see your From Drive icon there. If you don't like the circle, you can also select it from right over here on the side. You also have Google Drive. So once you click Google Drive, you're going to have a mini little window pop open to the far right. I'm going to scroll over to recent. You could also search right there. And I'm going to find that Google form and I'm going to insert that directly onto my Google site. You can put your lockbox wherever. It helps if you have over here to the right, you can insert like a text box to say something about that's your lockbox, type your answers in directly. If you see anything that pops up red, you're going to see that it's still locked. You can also make a Screencastify video and embed it right here. If you don't know what Screencastify is, check out the Power of Pause professional development if you're interested in learning how to make instructional videos for your students. So underneath, I might put something like, all clues will be found below this text. Just so they're not up in the heading looking around up there or anything like that. One thing that I forgot to mention is that we can change this to our breakout session, change that title to whatever it is that you want, and it can be there. And you can get fancy with your header types. You can find images and upload images if you want to customize it just a little bit further. I'm going to make this one be kind of basic, but you can do very, very cool things with those. Okay. So as far as the Google form goes and how to embed it, that's pretty much it. And any changes that you make over here on your Google form will be applied directly. And just like with the example that you did earlier in this session, the students will be able to type their answers directly on that form without having to go to an additional site to do that. Our next video will explain a little bit more about organizing your Google site.